Okay, so this is a little weird. I'm re-recording over a stream I already did because the audio was bad, and also wanted to kind of go over it. It's 40 minutes in length. A lot of it is me kind of processing and understanding the approach. So what we're doing here is um, the I have a client that wants a simple change to software that's going to be a pretty big change on the back end. The problem with that is that I don't understand the process to begin with. They kind of added that in as a kind of a stopgap or a workaround for the software. So instead of improving the software, they came up with a workaround to be like, oh, we'll just do this instead. That's what you don't want. You want the software to help with that process. And maybe it can't, maybe it can, but if I don't understand the process, then I can't help the client create software to automate that process or make that process less friction. So a lot of it is me understanding what I need to communicate and how I can communicate it, and then rephrasing it. So we go about 7 minutes in, and I kind of type out my thoughts, like and none of this is spelled right. This is on the fly. 7 minutes in, list out types of professionals that can help with communicating proper ways to approach software development changes, like making changes to software without understanding the process and not allowing users of software to make workarounds for new processes that the software does not support or create bloated or monkey patch software. And I use monkey patch because that's kind of the only thing I could think of, and it went on a tangent and said something, kind of later. It said things about code and whatever. We're not really concerned about bad code, unfortunately. We're more concerned about, you know, communicating effectively is what I'm trying to do. Instead of saying just fix the thing, fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it. No, I don't. We can fix it. We can do that, but you're creating technical debt, and that's a key term that we use later. So we have our different things. Software architect's big. Um, we have no documentation. We have no. I am the UI. I'm all of these roles, but there's no documentation. There's no really consulting. There's not a whole lot of follow up. So it's a very small project. And my local AI actually created 15, whereas the cloud one didn't do quite as many. The Kaji. We were using Qwen 3 with NoThink in the prompt with OpenWebUI, and instead of doing the reasoning, you get a much faster response time. So I think I even put the NoThink, highlighted the NoThink down here. And it's just a prompt that says at the end, be sure at the end of every prompt to put / NoThink. So now I have a no thinking model to this prompt. Now, here is the regular that's not the thinking model, and I had it thinking. Um, Now here's the prompt master, which basically helps you create better prompts and breaks it down to those four pieces around context. Here we see. Let's see if I can get it the right part of the video. Yeah, context, tone, persona, task, exemplar, tone, format. Those are kind of the things you're looking for. So we're still messing with, you know, thinking about, two personas or act as a software architect or technical writer. And I kind of canned all that and said I don't want to have to do like merge two different conversations. I'm just trying to communicate basically why someone needs to really understand the process, why we need to spend the time up front to save longer time. And I didn't really get to that till later. We're 10 minutes in, and I'm still looking at like trying to act as a certain professional persona. This is very informal. It's a family kind of project, um, and so this is back to the video. Now, here's kind of the thinking part, and this is where like all the light bulbs started going off. Um, talking about bloated or monkey patch software. There wasn't a ton of stuff in here that was super helpful. Where it really started to click was on the actual response. On the response, uh, you know, here's the prompt master giving us a prompt. and breaking it all out. And I ended up trying to use the system prompt, and I was like, no, this is just too much. Like it's just overcomplicating it. I don't need to be. I don't need to have a prompt for the response to what I'm trying to talk about. Um, it's too kind of formal. But it helped me understand, what we need to do, how we need to communicate, what the client might be, what the client's concerns are, um, which kind of helped. So what I took out of it is, as a software, after communicating client changes to primary versus the guide to client adopting structured, user-centric, and sustainable practice to address software development changes. Specifically, you must address the key three issues: ad hoc changes without process understanding, leading to technical debt and instability, and then restricting user workaround for unsupported processes, causing user friction and reduced adoption. So, um, like anybody will do that. And then this part was like your objectives are to explain root cause, purpose solutions, and frame technical concepts. Efficiency, user satisfaction, long-term scalability, things like that. And I started to kind of copy and paste this whole prompt into the system prompt, which I realized was like too much work. And then I went over here, explained that the Quinn, the thing that's highlighted green, is loaded into memory right now. So the responses will be much faster instead of having to load the model every time. This is not green, but because it's using this Quinn model, it's essentially green. But because this isn't an actual model, it's a system prompt. For the unthink, it's basically the same as this, but the system prompt says unthink. It's not green, but it is using this model, so it's a little bit of a kind of a red herring. Uh, so I started to paste the system prompt in there, and I'm like, whatever. Explain to the client, understanding the process to make changes, and then I kind of started all over from scratch. And this is where I'll explain about when you develop software, and I just started from scratch to handle transportation and logistics between NAS, make simple changes, and basically writing out the prompt um, from kind of scratch about you know what I'm trying to communicate based on all the information that I've gotten so far. So we're still doing like the prompt. I'm kind of writing based on everything that I know. I'm kind of writing out, when I went back here and I said, oh, um, despise this software. Yeah, so this is I hit submit after this, and this is when it started saying, kind of framing all this out for me. Um, the response: user's goal is to communicate with the client. Developer wants to communicate that they don't understand the process and propose investigating time up front to analyze and optimize the process, which would save time in the long run. Could, would are two different things. Um, Approach leading to potential efficiencies and possibly snowball effect with more changes. This is about 24 minutes in, and I don't know how long we're into this recording, but um, so starting to see some of the bits and pieces I want to take out of this to use it. Um, yeah, and they talk about tone, challenge to do this without sounding like they're blaming the client while justifying the need for more time and resources. Explain the situation. Highlight risk of continuing, right? Keep doing this, it's going to get better, it's going to snowball, it's going to get worse. Highlight the risk of continuing this approach. Investigating time up front, right? Uh, Analogies and examples to make the concept tangible is that the productive to lead to future issues, not just reaction to current problems. Overcomplicating, pitfalls to avoid. The structure, explain, present, solution up front, and communicate is clear. And then this is our response, which is a bunch of, I think it took the system prompt that I gave it from the prompt master prompt and made a response that was in the form of kind of prompt master sort of. So we got like a 1, 2, 3 here, kind of explaining, all of it in one thing. So I said, this is all kind of good information. This is kind of what I want to communicate, but it's not in the right structure. So I came down here, and finally, we're kind of getting towards the end. Not optimize, terrain, analyzing your mountain road. It's a weird analogy they used. Acknowledgments. And I started to kind of copy and paste some of this. I'm like, no, no, let's just start all over. Or I told it to write a response based on, yeah, give me an email to send to the client explaining why you need to understand the process before you make changes to the software based on the previous message. That's basically all the stuff before. Include all this stuff before, and just write me an email that explains all this. And here's the thinking part. Okay, the user wants to send an email. First, we should be formal yet approachable, and then I don't want to be formal. It's kind of a friendly, family friend, and want to make it less formal and less wordy and less whatever. So we got this. Over the past 5 weeks, we've had closely to refine our transportation systems, ensuring it meets operational needs. Your feedback required changes and instrumental and functional. However, we know this growing trend. Many of the recent changes you propose are workarounds for limited HSH in the software. So this is like a lot of words here. Um, Short-term fixes versus long-term efficiency, hidden inefficiencies, map your team's interactions, identify gaps, design tailored solutions. That's all good, but this needs to be less formal and more easy to be consumed by normal folks, by not businessy people. Involve the software by the simplifies operations. Would you be open to dedicating a few hours? It's only going to be a couple of hours. So that this whole message is kind of what I wanted to do, but it's too formal. So I said, okay, let me go to the end and use my Robert prompt, which is basically a custom prompt to show, and I'll show you what that looks like. Let's see, Robert. This one is basically purpose. Here's just AI translator. Sometimes I say translator because sometimes I'm working with different languages. Exclusively on transforming text into clearer, more concise versions while embodying personality of this is Myers-Briggs. I tell this to everybody. Take the Myers-Briggs test and take the Enneagram type and figure out which ones you are and put them in there. And you can actually change them based on the tone you want to have. Your sole function is to improve clarity and conciseness of the user provide. So we're reiterating, clear and concise. And this was used, I took my original prompt and had Prompt Master rewrite it. So example, translated text, limitations. Your sole purpose is do not engage in all this stuff. Like it'll add, oh, this is, the message I have fixed this part of the message and I have fixed the tone and I don't need to know all that. You're the AI, you do whatever it is you do. I don't need to know why you did the thing necessarily. I know where my fault lies. It just takes me longer to get there. And it's using the M dashes or double dashes. So I say don't do that. So we go back to our video here. I feed the response, that long formal response, and then I also add the extra bit that says, be sure to respond in a less formal way as a family member. Excuse me. Allergies here. And so now we still have a pretty big response, but it's more concise and more friendly. So instead, a little time now, big time savings later. That's a lot easier than efficiency, blah 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 blah, like whatever the words they were using, the big words they were using before. It's easier to digest. So I'll show you what we ended up with. That's old. That's old. So here's kind of, I think, what we ended up with. Where's the one that says inefficiencies and yeah, short-term fixes. This is our kind of final prompt, and we'll reword it, and maybe this PS will keep too. So the idea is we'll reword this, dear client name, your collaborator trying to extend it, ensuring it meets your. Now this is just I'm just going to be doing some rewording of like a growing trend, many recent changes. It's not that many changes. They don't have the context that those changes or whatever, and then kind of understanding instead of next steps being hours, be an hour, maybe an hour, 2 hours max, right? Um, for understanding that. So I think this is kind of will help communicate that out in a less formal way. So, anyways, I just wanted to show that approach. Now you can think this is the link, the barcode for the AI notes. If you want to contribute to it, feel free to add it, and it's got the language in there, right? Kind of the parts of speech. Prompt masters in here. Master. There's prompt master. There's also my prompt. The Robert prompt should be in here. ENFJ, yeah. Example personalities or personas. That one's one. That's an older one, and this is like an improved version of essentially this prompt here. So there's some fabric prompts. So anyways, I hope this helps. This is kind of the approach. The whole thing was like a 40-minute deal, and I had to redo the audio and stuff. So hopefully this will be kind of a better approach to how I got there, how the logic, the and how I use the AI. A lot of times I do start out, it's like way too complicated. I want to use AI the whole way. A lot of the times I end up just in plain English. Once the AI has helped me understand what I'm trying to communicate, and what the key words I'm trying to use. Efficiency is short-term fix, long-term efficiency. Um, not not that in a more a less whatever a less kind of formal way, which that should have been one of these. Yeah, short-term fix or long-term efficiency. Anyways, if that helps out, take it easy and let me know if you want to see anything else like this, similar if this is good.